Hi everyone, it's Devana with Mama Made Knits, and I am finally back for another podcast. It has been a crazy month. I planned on, whenever I started the YouTube, I thought I might do weekly podcast or every other week podcast. Well, now it's been almost 3 weeks since my last podcast, so it's time. And I feel like I have a weird amount of things to show for it. But if you stick around to the end, I'll get into life stuff. I did take a trip, so that did play a part in what I ended up working on. So I did have one finished object, and I was not thinking, and I just started soaking all of my socks. So I did complete my Vanilla is the New Black socks, and I do really like how they are fitting. There's a lot more room around the heel than the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I think I might go down a needle size on the next pair because I did already start another pair. But I did finish those. They are getting washed. I wanted to wear them right away so that I would know if they fit or not, because I'm like, I want to continue trying out this heel. And I think I might go down, like I said, a needle size. That would be my only thing, is they feel just a little bit too loose. So bypassing finished objects, I have none to show. It was a weird knitting it's been 19 days since my last podcast. And I feel like if it was a normal 19 days, I would have had some more things to show, but it wasn't normal. So here's what I have to show. So after my last podcast, and I am in the middle of a row on this, and I'm so sorry. I was right about here for my last podcast. I did stick just a regular marker in it. One of the things, because I really enjoyed making my last podcast, guys, and I had a lot of thoughts after. One of them was, I need to put in my progress keepers. I have progress keepers. I have cute progress keepers. I've had some I've made. And I threw in the thing that I found. It was a light bulb stitch marker. But I did get some work done on this baby jacket that is going to be a baby shower gift for my friend. And her baby shower is April 15th. So I really need to get to work on it. It is super cute. I am getting close to the end. I have 2.5 or 2 3/4 inches between this rib section and the end of the jacket, and then picking up the sleeves. But this is the baby and toddler tiered coat and jacket by Lisa Chimery. It is in Knit Picks, which Bulky Blossom Heather is the colorway. And I am doing the size 6 to 12 months because it's a summer baby. So hopefully she'll get some wear out of it whenever winter comes around. I do love this. It is not a hard knit, but for some reason, it's just not been one that I've wanted to pick up, but it is going to be my focus knitting project coming up. I would like to have this finished. I would like to do another podcast in a week. And I would like to have this done before then, do the podcast, and then wash it because I want it washed before I give it to her and blocked. So that is that. It is just in a little tote bag that says the stash struggle is real, that I picked up from Rubel, which is like one of the only local knitting stores that I've been to. I've been to one other one, but they have since done away with their yarn, and they didn't have like a huge selection to begin with, but I did find some to buy, and I do love them. I still go there, but it's mostly a cross-stitch shop now. The other thing that I was working on before the last podcast, I am kind of frustrated with myself. So sometimes I will watch knitting podcasts, and it's like they're so close to the end of a project, and I'm like, why didn't you finish the project before you started the podcast? I get it. This is the time that I had to film, and I am this close to finishing the toe of the sock, but I do not have a lot of time today. I have not had any time to do a podcast, so I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I will finish the toe later. So I have one completed sock for my husband. So this is one I really wish I had a progress keeper in, because I know I did one podcast where it was like I had almost no progress done on this. Now I have one completed sock, and like I said, I am almost done with the second sock. I did use double pointed needles just because I felt like it. I mostly use 9-inch circulars and will do magic loop for the toe, but I had this set of double pointed needles, and that's what I used, and I stuck the extra one there. I've already started the toe even. I am so close to the end, but my kids are not currently here, but they're not going to be gone very long. And so I was like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to work on Easter things. So it's what time I had. This is in a bag that I did purchase from a Stitchy Girl Studio. I do really like the size of the bag. It looks very wrinkled. I'm sorry. I had to wash it. And I didn't iron the bag. I barely iron anything. So mostly whenever I'm sewing. So that was from Knit Picks Hawthorne DK in the colorway North Star Kettle. I am really liking how it looks knitted up. It's really pretty. You probably won't see this on the next podcast. It's almost done. I showed you a completed sock. As soon as it's done, I'm going to have my husband wear them. Why didn't I talk about this more? I'm out of practice and I didn't have much practice to begin with. So let's bring it back out. I still have an end to weave in. What was I going to say about this? Oh gosh. I know I pulled it back out for I did the Vanilla's the new black in the DK weight pattern. I scribbled some notes real fast just to have something to look at, but not enough notes. So this is the Vanilla is the new black hill pattern for the DK weight size. And I did try this one on him. The only problem is, so I've been trying to find his perfect fit, and I started with way too many stitches, and I've since, like every pair of socks he's had, I've cut down. So this one has 52 stitches cast on, and next time I need to do 56 for the cuff and then taper it back down. That's the only change though that I would make after having him try it on. Loving the yarn. I would get it again. I like making him DK weight socks because he likes really long socks, and I don't want to be knitting forever and ever. Okay, so I had a trip, and I was, trying to make sure I had the house cleaned up. I was trying to make sure the kids and I were packed. I want to have a knitting project. We only had personal size luggage, so I was trying to make sure that everything fit, and all of those things. And that was the project that I ended up working on the most. I wanted it to be the baby sweater, but his socks, where it is miles and miles of stockinette, was definitely like the comfort knitting project. But before that really set in, I did cast on some new projects. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I'm very excited about. I didn't get very far before I did put it away. Once I was like, I've got to get everything ready for the trip, and anytime I had knitting, I just worked on his socks. I started the Tolsta tee. This is by, I'm not sure how you say it, Creabea, Creabea, and it is going to be so pretty. One day whenever it grows up. I had a friend that started one as well. She is doing the DK weight. She's almost done. And I'm over here like, have not even split for the sleeves. I'm still and now it's going to be kind of hard because I haven't worked on it in like 2 weeks to remember like what I am doing. But I am really liking it. I cannot wait to work on it again. Like, I am excited to do that. The yarn is Fangirl Fiber Pirates of the Caribbean. And I have that in a plastic box, which has worked really well for me. I can just set it down, I move it around. I think I would like to make sweater baskets, or blanket baskets. Like my bigger projects, I find I really want like a big wide opening more than I get from a drawstring bag. Okay, so after that, I had more cast-ons. I went a little cast-on crazy, honestly, and then it's so funny what tiny bit I can show you. But I really, really wanted to start these colorwork socks. So I got them cast on. And that's all I've done. So these will be fun and exciting to show you in a few weeks, I am sure. One more cast on. That is going to be, I didn't bring the book. Charming Colorwork Socks, I think. It is going to be the one that's shown on the front cover. I also started, which here's a new acquisition. I got a row counter from Twice Sheared Cheap. I also started, this is just going to be a vanilla. It's probably going to be another Vanilla is the New Black, which I need to remember how many I cast on. I cast it on, there was like one day that I had that I was like, I just really want to cast on another sock. And I did. And I did all of this that day and then no more. But it is just going to be a vanilla sock, possibly with the Vanilla is the New Black heel, for my son. He picked out the colors that he wanted and I got it started. That's all I've done. That is also Fangirl Fiber yarn. That is Phantom Manor. I am glad I remember that. So another cast on that I had. I was very cast on heavy. No, not very finished object heavy, but very cast on heavy. Not even a lot of like progress was made other than my husband's socks. It's like this much with bulky yarn on the baby sweater and my husband's socks. So I knew I wanted plain knitting, and whenever I took my trip, and I wanted a brand new project because I'm like, I don't want to take something down there and finish it and not have anything. And I really thought, because we talked about a lot about having it be kind of a more relaxing vacation, and in a way it was, but it was not a lot of downtime knitting, you know, down knitting time. We actually did, we had brought some mini verses, so we made mini verses all together. The little resin projects that you can get that's in like the mystery balls. But I did start this project. This was with my new yarn from Fangirl Fiber. This is Carousel Progress. I wanted to try making some shorter socks because here lately, all of the socks that I've made myself have been on the longer side for me. I just wore a pair the other day that was short. So I'm like, now I'm like, I don't know. I hope I like this because I have found I've liked the longer socks, but I was thinking, eventually it's going to warm up. It was 28 degrees this morning, but I have to believe that eventually spring is coming. But I did get this far on my sock, mostly working on the plane. I do think I added maybe from here after the plane ride. There was on the way back a lot of turbulence. So the weather was amazing the whole time we were down in Florida. We were only there a few days. Weather was great. The day we left, it was raining. And it was so funny because my daughter actually fell asleep, and she rarely ever just falls asleep. Like, she's not one of those kids that just pass out anywhere. Like, it wasn't like, oh, they run around and they just fall asleep. Like, never. We had a dedicated bedtime routine that did not change for years. Like, it's changed more recently because they're 8 now and they do go to bed, and I let them like read and stuff before they go to sleep. But she like passed out on my arm, and it was so funny because like it felt like takeoff was rough, and then there was a lot of turbulence while we were going up, and then there was a fair amount of turbulence, and whenever it smoothed out, she woke back up, and I was like, I'm so glad she slept through that. But my knitting was pretty tight. I don't know that it will show in the camera, but I realized I was knitting pretty tight, so I'm like, I hope they fit. And last time I did a Vanilla is the New Black pair of socks, which it was a slightly different base. It was 80-20, and this is 80-20. What is that one? 85-15. The Potions and Pearls is 85-15. This is 80-20. I don't know if that made a difference, but I'm like, just looking at the sock, I'm like, I'm past the point that I started the toe on the last pair that I made like this. And this one I think is going to need a few more rows. And I'm not sure if it's just because of a little bit of plain struggles. But yes, so that is in a bag I made myself. It is a nice Cinderella bag. It's one of my favorites. You'll probably see it a lot. I would say that bag, I actually made all 3 of the sock bags. I glossed over them because hardly any work got done on them. I actually feel like I'm trying to rush through the podcast, and I don't need to rush. I just needed to do it. But I did make this bag as well, and I made this one. And I wanted it to be like, I planned on working on this more around Easter time. Didn't really happen. It's okay. I have one more new project from last time. Like I said, very, very heavy in the new things. I'm hoping to have more finished objects next time. So if I can get a hold of my husband's socks, I would like to finish my socks. Definitely want to finish the baby jacket. Like that is my big thing. But whenever, the week before the trip, I mostly worked on my husband's socks. During the trip, I worked on the travel socks. Now, after the trip, for some reason, I decided I wanted to crochet, and I wanted to crochet a lot. So this is going to be a pillow cover. I did follow the granny square pattern that Knitty Natty did on YouTube, and then the join as you go method that also she shared in her blanket where she puts her granny squares together. So definitely check out Knitty Natty if you want to make something similar. I am just making a pillow cover. It is a rectangular pillow. So if I'm right, I will need 2 more rows in addition to finishing this row. I am loving this. Like, I started on this, have not been able to set it down. Now I want to start a blanket, or I've even thought about making more just pillow covers for the pillows in my living room. Not sure. Hold on tight. There's going to be more of these because I have just loved this. I have taken the smallest scraps. So normally it is, I've made a pair of socks with them, and then they go into my granny stripe blanket, which unfortunately isn't getting the love that this is. I really think it's where, you finish a granny square and you're like, yay, it's done. I think that's what I'm liking so much. Whereas I don't feel that same way, I guess, about the granny stripes, even though I love that blanket. But I've used little bits of yarn that I've had left. So some of them are just one color, this one and this one. This one has 3 different yarns that I had left, and I didn't want to throw them away, and I kept collecting them in a bag. I had already made, before I started this project, I had already made a few of these. So I'm pretty sure this whole first row and then these 2. And I think after that, maybe, I think I made the rest of them. Can't remember. But yeah, this is how that's looking. My plan is, I think it needs 3 rows on each side. And then I'm just going to seam all of the other sides together. But yeah, so I've been making granny squares. I've been making a lot of granny squares. It feels like a lot to me. I guess it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, which these ones feel very Christmassy. And I already have this Christmas one in there, but I am going to try to put them in somewhere. I don't want it to feel Christmassy though, because this is going to be on a pillow that I keep in my rocking chair in my craft room. But I have loved working on this project. I hope I don't run out of yarn. So that's my joining collar. I have loved being able to in fact, this is what I worked on at karate. This is why my husband's socks aren't done. They will be. They're very, very close. I just wanted to get the podcast done so that I could get it uploading and I could go take care of some other things I need to do before I have to go get my kids. So yeah, anyway, then it's back to this because I have just fallen in love with this. And I'm not even normally, like when I work on my granny stripe blanket, I normally do like half a row or 5 clusters or something like that. And then I almost get a little bored. Like, I enjoy knitting more. I do know how to crochet. I have made some crochet things, but I do enjoy knitting more. And I don't know, this week I just didn't want to knit. I wanted to crochet, which was really weird, but it's going to give me a beautiful pillow cover. And I do think I want to make more scrappy granny squares. I do kind of like whenever they're one color so that I don't have to weave in 1,000 ends, but some of these have been so fun. This one is 3 different yarns. So there was a purple, and then I went ahead and used a different purple, and then I used this one. I'm trying not to overthink it. I do try to make it like, I don't want all the green squares next to each other or something like that. This one was 3 yarns as well, and I love how it turned out. See if I can hit the light better. But all of them have that like maroon color to them. So yeah, this project has brought me so much joy. And I love when the Crazy Sock Lady says, work on what brings you joy. This was it. This is what I wanted to work on. However, I have to work on the baby jacket. It needs to be done by the next podcast so that I can get it washed. So I think what I'm going to do, because I love that I have it. I think it's going to turn out so cute. I cannot wait to see the baby wear it next winter. All of those things, but for some reason I just don't want to pick it up and work on it. So I think I'm going to try the 30 minutes a day and see how far I get, because it's bulky weight. I should get, 2 rows adds a good bit to it, whereas this one may not be shown on the next podcast because I am going to try to work so much on the baby jacket. I always have a sock with me, so a sock should make progress. The baby blanket should make progress. This will probably be done. Okay, so I do have 2 acquisitions. I actually got 2 mystery boxes in right before my trip, I think. One might have been right before, one might have been right after. So the first one that I got in was the Twice Sheared Sheep mystery box. So if you haven't got yours yet, I'm just going to show the yarn. I will say the colorway, so probably skip ahead just a couple minutes. I'm not going to show all of the things, but this is the yarn that I got, which I love purple. I will say, and you'll find this funny here in a minute, green is not my favoriteest color, but I can't wait to see this knitted up. So this is from the Sheepy Shire, and it is called Pixie Socks is the base. So it's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina, and it is called Crocus. So, and it's sparkles. So that is the yarn that I got. It did come with some other things, most of which I was pretty happy with. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't talk about it a whole lot, but I would think most people would have it now. I got it, I think it's been a couple weeks now since I've received my box. So I would think most people had. I don't want to do any spoilers, but I would think, I love the yarn. I love some of the other tools that came in it. There was one item that to me felt like, it didn't feel like a full-size item. Like, I'll just say that. And it's supposed to be, I think, 8 full-size items, and that counted. It was in the little chart, and I was like, that's just not as much to me, but it still was nice. I get another one in June, so that's exciting. The other thing I got, and I'm pretty sure that this is it. The other yarn that I received, the other mystery little pouch, was from Leap of Faith. Yeah, Leap of Faith yarn. So if you got the, I guess it's March mystery box, you might want to skip ahead a little bit. But again, I'm just going to show the yarn, and I'm going to show it here in just a second. So, ready? It is also has a lot of greens to it. It's funny though, because they're very, very different, but they do both have purple and green. And this one actually does have a little bit of orange, and so does that one. So yeah, this is the yarn that I received. This is my first time purchasing yarn from her, and I jumped in with just a mystery box. This one is called Montana, and it is $75.25. Another one, I'm excited to see what this looks like knitted up, and I love to try out new yarns to see if I like the yarn bases that they use as well. So that also came with a few little things which made me really happy. I prepaid for a whole year for Twice Sheared Sheep, which is 3 boxes, and I have the Fangirl Fiber subscription, which is really hard for me. That's probably my favorite just because it's Disney themed and I love Disney. But that Leap of Faith box was really nice. It had a few treats in it, and it's not one that you have to sign up and do every month for. So I think here and there I will pick up more of those. So that is most of the yarny things that I have to talk about. So if you're just here for that, thanks for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I know it's not a super short episode this time, so thanks for listening to me ramble. I feel like I've been very scattered and definitely out of practice, even though I only had 3 to begin with. But honestly, let's just face it, like, it's going to take me several months before I really get going. But thank you so much for watching, especially if you got to this point. If you got to this point, leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of it. I am going to try to learn to edit, and I want to improve other things. So I am going to try to figure out lighting, because I feel like the lighting makes, one, makes me look kind of old, which is not my favorite, but it also makes my eyes very dark, and I don't feel like that's very flattering either. I'm like, I do have eyeballs, I promise. Like, you just can't see them. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Life stuff. So I already said several times, we went on a trip this week. I had an absolute blast. It was a great time. I've been definitely struggling for several months with just a lot of things in relation to foster care. I won't get into it, but getting out from the weather. I live in Ohio. It's not been the prettiest weather lately. We had some really nice days, but it's like after we have a really nice day, it's like the next day is like, hey, how about some snow? And I don't normally mind snow and things, but I prefer, you know, I'm like pretty much after January, I'm over it. So we went down to Florida and the weather was amazing. We had a very nice hotel room. It had a great pool. We went to some malls, which was really interesting because I don't have much around where I live. Like, I'm pretty much in the country. Even malls, some of our malls, like the ones that we have are not doing so well. So it was so interesting to see, like, thriving community was kind of fun just in itself. And like I said, the weather was just amazing. I think the first day we were there was, no, the last full day we were there, I think, was the warmest. The first day was kind of warm. And we went to the Disney Outlet, which was a great thing to do because the kids got to buy, they had their own money. They have been saving up for a while. They do some chores. And they got to buy several things from the outlet that had they tried to buy it at the park, they would have only been able to get like one of the things. So it was really nice that they got several souvenirs right off the bat. And then the next day we went to Epcot. And oh my goodness, the weather was great. It was a little too cold in the morning and then the evening because I also don't like to be hot. I don't like to be really cold. I don't like to be really hot. I also like when the temperature just stays the same for a few days, which we have not had. And it definitely affects my sinuses whenever it's hot and cold and hot and cold. So anyway, it was a little cool in the evening, but not too cold for me. But my son was definitely on the cold side. But almost first thing we went to ride the Frozen ride because it didn't have a really long wait. And a lot of that queue is inside. So by the time we were done with that, it had warmed up enough for everybody. And then it just felt great because it never got too hot. I feel like we had just such a nice Disney park day. Like, I've had Disney park days where we have booked all the fast passes. We have, planned out every detail and everything. This was very much like we just went and we got to do so much. I thought it was going to be crazy busy with spring breakers, but we really wanted to go for the Flower and Garden Festival. That's the only Disney park we did, but we got to ride almost everything. My brother-in-law and my niece got to ride the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride. They said it was amazing. I wish I could have rode it, but I was still kind of sinusy. By the time we were done with the trip, I'd really cleared up, but that day in particular, I was like, I feel like I might get sick if I ride too intense of a ride. But we did get to ride the Frozen ride. We got to ride the Remy ride. The wait times were nowhere near as long as like they were posted, which was really pleasant because they weren't even really, really long for Disney World lines. So that worked out really well. We got to see so much of the countries, each of the country pavilions. Tried several foods. That was probably the most disappointing thing to me. Like, I am a picky eater. And I also really so I didn't like anything. We had started in Norway, but we went back around and hit Canada and then like worked our way around because we were just kind of killing time till they got off of the Guardians of the Galaxy ride so we could walk with everybody. But I tried the chicken and waffles. It was okay. I shared a lot of that with my kids. And then I just couldn't find anything that I wanted to eat. And by the time we got to the American Pavilion, I was getting shaky and I really, really needed to eat. Like I'd pieced on a few different things, but just nothing. I was like, I just didn't like anything. And oh my goodness, I just had to go in and get something to eat. I was like, I had hit the point where I had to eat something. And I just really wanted to make it to China and eat there. And I didn't. And for some reason, I can't remember. I think we had went and saw Jasmine because we had got to see Winnie the Pooh and Jasmine and then the new princess. We haven't watched that movie yet, but the Asha, we also got to meet her. So I think somehow when they were in Japan, like we were with Jasmine, and then somehow we just kind of, we only got to stay in Japan like a little bit, and I didn't realize what we were doing, and I didn't get to eat anything there because that would have been a good one. We get to America and I had to eat. So I'm like, here we are with all of this amazing cuisine and I am eating French fries and macaroni and cheese. Like, because I just had to eat something. And yeah. But after that, we got some really nice things at the next food booth that we got to try. And I really liked the potato pancakes. I can't remember what country that was in. But yeah, and then we finished, we got all the way around. We also rode the 3 Caballeros twice and got all of the way around. And then we went looking for the new Moana place area. And I think we hit some more rides before we got to it just because the wait times were like 5-10 minutes. So it was like, oh, let's get on the, last time we went, which was November 2022. My son wanted to ride the ride with the dragon. That's what he kept saying. And we ended up accidentally running out of time. Like we didn't, because I was like, yeah, we'll go get on it. And then it was like, oh my goodness, the park's about to close. Like we missed it. And so I made sure to get him on it this time. I don't really know what he thought. We were cracking up because somehow my dad and my nephew, my older nephew, who's now 20, just 20, had gotten on that ride by themselves and they were just cracking up laughing. They had such a good time on that ride. They're like, best ride in the whole park. But yeah, so we rode that ride. The kids think it's hilarious. We rode Soaring, which that had almost no wait time too. That was so nice. And then we got to walk on Living with the Land. And me and my niece just were slap happy, I think, at that point. So we were cracking up at stuff. And it was mostly my family in like the little boat thing that you're in. But then there was like 2 people behind us and then like 1 person ahead of us. So we were trying to be quiet. But it was also just, at some point, it cracked us up. Just the fact that we were kind of like, oh, look at that. You know, like that was cute. And kind of making a little bit of jokes, trying to be quiet, you know, because we were sitting right next to each other. Then we just started cracking up laughing because everybody else in our boat was like, and we just thought, I don't know, we thought we were funny, I guess. After that, we saw the new Moana water playground thing. Oh my goodness. My daughter said that was her favorite. I'm getting a phone call. I'm gonna try to hang up because it looks like spam. My daughter ended up saying that was the favorite thing that she did on the whole trip was playing. She was Moana. That's what she said. I was Moana. And it was a lot of fun. And of course it's getting later and later. And I'm like, now the kids are like a little bit wet. Like you don't get real wet, but you get a little bit wet. And, but I was like, it's been years since I rode the what is that called? The one inside the Epcot ball. We do a trip about every other year. That's kind of our goal. So I think I've only rode, what is that called? I knew what it was and then I forgot it. But the one inside the Epcot thing, I've only rode it like 1 time. So I was like, oh, I want to get the kids on that. Like I remember it being educational too, because we kept joking. Even my daughter turned around on Living with the Land and she went, science, check. You know, because we were like homeschool goals, you know, they had to do math because they had their own money. They had, you know, all of the geography and history and all of the pavilions and stuff like that. So, and science. So yeah, anyway, we rode that ride, and after that, it was time for fireworks. It was almost time for fireworks, but I was like, oh my goodness, my son is going to freeze. And my daughter's probably not going to be that happy either, but it was like, oh, it got real cold real quick, and they're like slightly wet from the Moana playground. So we run in, and I was just trying to go so fast because I wanted to see the fireworks, and I wanted to get my kids sweatshirts, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so expensive. And I realized later, like, I don't think we made it to the section that had kids stuff. But maybe I thought I was in the section with kids stuff. I don't know. But we found a sweatshirt for my daughter pretty quick, and we grabbed her a medium. She did not need a medium adult sweatshirt. She would have needed like an extra small adult sweatshirt. And then that would have been a little bit too big. I actually put it on, like, I can just about wear this. I'm not a medium, but I can actually almost wear the sweatshirt that we bought her. I had just stuck it on. I was like, okay, looks good. Like, we'll get another winter out of it, because I didn't want to buy something that was like, you'll wear it today and then you guys are going to outgrow it, because these are very expensive sweatshirts. So like, where all my souvenir money went was these sweatshirts. I'm sorry if you don't enjoy Disney. I'm sure you're long gone by now. But anyway, ran in, grabbed those, and then my son wasn't liking any of the ones that we showed him. There was like the Stitch one I thought he would like. Showed him a couple Mickey ones, but I was like, is there one that you see that you want? Because I'm like, he's the one I was worried about the most. And he runs back and picks one out, and I was like, oh, okay, we found him a small. He and threw it on him again. It's way too big. It's an adult sweatshirt, and we're like, yeah, this looks good. Then I had such a hard time like getting checked out, because like the checkout's closed like in the direction that anybody's going to want to go for the fireworks, which makes no sense, but they have that mobile checkout. So I'm like, okay, we'll do the mobile checkout. I think I didn't get the discount that I was supposed to get, which was really frustrating, because this was the most amount of money that I spent in one store the entire trip. And yes, that was kind of frustrating, but we were like rushed out because we could already hear the fireworks starting. And then we didn't even go up to the water. We ended up just watching the fireworks from back behind it. And I was like, at some point I'm like, because my mom was with me, and I'm like, each one of us could have taken a kid and like gave him a bear hug. But we did have to stand and wait for our Lyft driver for a good little bit. So I'm glad I got them. They have loved them. They both picked them out. So I mean, hopefully they treasure these sweatshirts. I said they are not to go out and feed the farm. These are nice sweatshirts that hopefully they can wear for a long time, because we actually bought them ginormous sizes for them. So that was a lot of fun. And then the next day we went to the Florida Mall. I think it's just called the Florida Mall. And that was really neat. We got to prom dress shop with my niece, and she found one, and it was very, very pretty. My nieces and nephews are all going to be graduated this year. Like, I have a great nephew, but I don't have, like, all my regular nieces and nephews have gotten so old. But yeah, we got to watch her do that. And then we went over to Disney Springs for a little bit, because there was something we had to pick up. And then we went to the Grand Floridian to see the chocolate eggs. They were amazing. And that was the end of that day. And then the next day, my mom and I tried to go nowhere. Like, the kids wanted a swimming day so bad. So we swam and we swam. And I think that was the warmest day. It still wasn't ever like real hot, but the pool was heated. We pulled the kids out every little bit to slather more sunblock on them. And, you know, tried to have them sit for a bit. Like, you know, as the kids were just, you know, dying to get back in the pool. But I'm like, wait just a second, you know. Yeah, we still came home with some sunburns, but nothing too bad. Like, both of them have already, you can't tell that they even saw the sun, because we don't tan very easy. But anyway, that was my trip. It was amazing. That's one reason why the knitting is so scattered, because I'm like, I haven't even touched this since before the trip. Everything was crazy. This has turned into a very long video. But thank you so much for watching. If you make it all the way to the end, thanks extra special. If you can, if you actually wanted to watch this whole thing and you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. I will try to make the next one shorter.